Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're doing something a little different. We are completely stripping away the supernatural myths, the wild internet rumors, and all those ghost stories you've probably heard a million times. Instead, we're investigating the hard, scientific realities behind one of the world's most infamous maritime mysteries. We're talking about a massive area where, over the last century, more than 50 ships and 20 planes have just seemingly vanished into thin air. No traces, no wreckage, no answers. But today, we're going to change that by breaking down the completely natural, yet honestly, utterly terrifying causes that are actually at play here.
Now, to really understand the science, we kind of have to respect the history first, right? Because the fear of this 500,000 to 1.5 million square mile stretch of the Atlantic didn't just pop up yesterday. It goes all the way back to 1492. Christopher Columbus actually noted in his logbook that he saw strange lights crashing into the sea and had these really bizarre compass malfunctions. Flash forward to 1918, and you have the massive 542-foot USS Cyclops vanishing without a single SOS. It took 309 people and 11,000 tons of cargo down with it. And then, of course, the legendary Flight 19 in 1945. 5 Navy bombers and the rescue planes sent after them, just swallowed up by the sky. This patch of ocean has literally haunted us for centuries.
So to solve a mystery of this scale, we need a solid structure. Here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the legend itself. Second, the threat above. Third, the threat below. Fourth, the silent killer. Fifth, navigation and human error. And finally, why we love mysteries. Let's dive right in.
Starting off with part 1, the legend of the triangle.
You know what's funny? When logic fails, human imagination just totally takes over because ships like the Mary Celeste were found abandoned but otherwise perfectly intact, and modern planes vanished mid-sentence. People naturally filled in the blanks. We got theories about alien portals, Atlantean energy crystals, you name it. But we're stepping far away from the Hollywood scripts today. The absolutely crucial question we have to ask is, what does science actually say about these disappearances when we look strictly through the lens of proven natural phenomena?
Which brings us to part 2, the threat above, the weather. First things first, we've got to look at the sky and the highly volatile atmosphere over this specific patch of the Atlantic. The Bermuda Triangle sits squarely inside the hurricane belt. And before modern satellite weather tracking was a thing, this area was an absolute death trap. A calm, beautiful sunny day can turn into a violent, sky-darkening storm in literally a matter of minutes. I mean, just imagine being on a cargo ship in the early 1900s. There's no advanced radar. Suddenly, you're hit by unexpected tropical storms and tornado-force winds. The weather alone in this region is incredibly aggressive, and historically, it has caught hundreds of ships and planes completely off guard.
But wait, what happens after the storm? If a boat sinks, shouldn't we at least find some wreckage? Well, not here. The Bermuda Triangle is home to the Gulf Stream, and you really have to think of the Gulf Stream as this massive, immensely powerful underwater river flowing right through the ocean. It moves so incredibly fast that if a small boat or even a plane crashes, the debris is swept away almost instantly. In just a few hours, wreckage can be pushed dozens, sometimes hundreds of miles away from its last known location. So it's not that the evidence vanished into another dimension. It was just physically carried away by a relentless current.
Moving on to part 3, the threat below, rogue waves.
And here, we aren't just talking about fast currents. We are talking about colliding oceans creating absolute monsters. 100 feet. That is the height of a towering, sheer wall of water, known as a rogue wave. Scientists have actually proven that because of the specific way different ocean currents collide in this area, combined with really unpredictable winds, the Bermuda Triangle is basically a perfect breeding ground for rogue waves. These aren't your normal swells. These are sudden, freak waves that can reach 80 to 100 feet high. A wave that massive, it can snap a ship in half or swallow a huge vessel like the USS Cyclops whole in seconds. 1 minute you're sailing smoothly, and the next a 10-story wall of water crushes you without giving you a single second to even radio for help.
All right, part 4, the silent killer, methane gas.
Now we're looking past the waves, way down to depths reaching 27,000 feet in the Puerto Rico Trench, where sunlight doesn't even reach. Trapped under the icy pressure of the seabed, down there are massive deposits of methane gas hydrates. Let's walk through the exact scientific process of what happens when this stuff gets disturbed, because it's wild. Step 1. A minor undersea earthquake or landslide shifts the ocean floor, releasing this trapped methane. Step 2. These massive pockets of gas bubble up rapidly toward the surface. Step 3. As the gas mixes with the water, it drastically lowers the water's density. And step 4, the terrifying result. A ship sailing over this patch of bubbly, low-density water instantly loses its buoyancy. It literally drops straight down like a rock. The ocean just simply gives way beneath it. Again, there's absolutely no time to send an SOS, just instant submersion.
Let's shift gears for Part 5, Navigation and Human Error.
This brings us to what is probably the most unpredictable factor of all, the internal threats of navigational instruments and human confusion. It all basically boils down to a concept called magnetic declination. A standard compass points to magnetic north, right? Which is constantly shifting. But true geographic north is fixed. The Bermuda Triangle happens to be one of the few places on Earth where historically true north and magnetic north align perfectly, or where the magnetic variation changes wildly. If a navigator doesn't account for this localized magnetic quirk, they can drift miles off course incredibly fast. They might think they're heading straight for Florida, but they're actually steering directly out into the vast open Atlantic.
And look, when your instruments start acting weirdly, that human element absolutely takes over. Think back to that tragic Flight 19 mission. The squadron leader, Charles Taylor, experienced a compass failure. He became completely disoriented, convinced he was flying over the Florida Keys when he was actually lost over the deep ocean. As panic set in, fatigue clouded his judgment, and he led his entire squadron in the wrong direction until they simply ran out of fuel. The ocean is just an unforgiving place. A single panic decision or a wrong turn when you're surrounded by nothing but water, that often seals a crew's fate.
Finally, Part 6, Why We Love Mysteries.
We've looked at the science, sure, but we need to look at the cold, hard data to see if this triangle is actually a statistical anomaly. We aren't just guessing here. We have decades of hard data. NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, states plainly there are no supernatural factors present. The U.S. Navy concludes that the accidents perfectly align with normal marine hazards, but honestly, perhaps the most telling piece of evidence comes from Lloyd's of London, the massive insurance market. If this area was genuinely a supernatural death trap, insurance companies would charge astronomical premiums for any ship crossing it, but they don't. Their official data decisively proves the accident rate here is not statistically higher than in any other heavily traveled global shipping lane.
So the reality we really have to accept here is that the triangle isn't some singular monster. It's a deadly illusion. It's a place where a perfect storm of completely natural elements happens to intersect. You've got unpredictable severe weather, a massive underwater river in the Gulf Stream, deep sea geological anomalies releasing methane, localized magnetic quirks, and the inevitable reality of human mistakes. All of this acting together, often at the absolute worst possible times. It is dangerous, for sure, absolutely, but it is entirely natural.
But, the myth persists anyway. Why is that? Well, our source material has this great observation, noting if every question was answered, the world of imagination would end. Humanity just has this natural tendency to turn our fears of the unknown into grand, sweeping stories. A sudden storm sinking a ship is a terrible tragedy. But a sea monster or an alien portal? Now that is a legend. We project our anxieties right onto the map, transforming natural, scientific hazards into captivating mysteries that keep our imaginations running wild.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought today. Are we so addicted to the thrill of a good mystery that we willingly ignore the science that's sitting right in front of us? The Bermuda Triangle isn't a portal to another world. It's really just a mirror reflecting our own human desire for the spectacular. Thank you so much for joining me on this analytical journey into the true, natural causes behind one of history's greatest legends. Keep questioning, keep analyzing, and I will see you in the next explainer.